What's up, y'all? I'm Spade, and this is my review of Black Panther 2: Wakanda Forever, directed by Ryan Coogler, 2022. Alright, first up, thanks for watching the video. This is going to be a spoiler-filled review, so there's your spoiler warning. The movie's been out for a minute. It's on Disney Plus if you want to go watch it and come back and check out the rest of this video. So I actually thought this one was pretty good. I was really engaged at the beginning of the film, although I felt that the second half of the movie fell off and I wasn't as engaged with the characters and the story. I found myself not really caring as much for what was going on, and because of that, it made the conflict very boring. But first things first, let me get into the things I liked about this movie. I actually appreciated that this movie had a more serious tone. I thought for the most part the dialogue was pretty well written, I thought the acting was really good, and I enjoyed the smaller, slower moments between the characters. I especially liked the moments between Shuri and Angela Bassett's character, Queen Ramonda. At the beginning of the film, it got really personal with the both of them, and we got a lot of great moments with their characters, both by themselves and together. I do think that all the talk surrounding Black Panther's death and T'Challa's death, rest in peace Chadwick Boseman of course, I thought that that was well handled, and I liked that they kept it serious. I appreciated that there was humor there, but they didn't go overboard with it like they've been doing as of late. I thought that most of the jokes were well timed and they were called for, and they were relevant to the situation that was going on. To be honest, the MCU for me is kind of becoming like a parody of itself, and I'm not really into that, so I hope that they continue with this more grounded and serious feel. I thought there were a lot of really cool looking shots. I thought the cinematography was really well done. Though I did find myself wishing that they lingered on some of the cooler looking shots. They were happening kind of a little too quickly for my liking anyways. But I liked that a lot of the action was at a wide angle and you could see all the moves that the characters were making, and you could actually tell what was going on, and the fighting was really well choreographed as well. My favorite scene was with Okoye and Atuma fighting on the bridge. It was really cool to see Okoye, who's like the leader, I guess, of the Dore Milaje, be challenged with Atuma's vibranium weapon. It was a type of weapon she wasn't used to going up against. So it was nice seeing that character development. You know, her ego was getting broken down a little bit and she had to figure out how to come back. I actually enjoyed her arc a lot in this movie. You know, she was defeated and she had to basically build herself up again and come back to fight again. There was a lot of great imagery in this film. T'Challa's funeral was really well shot. The cinematography there was on point. All the costumes were really well done. There was a lot of great like African iconic imagery all throughout this film. It was pretty cool to see. And I really liked how they shot the ending scene with Shuri on the beach, you know, throwing T'Challa's funeral garments into the fire. You see the fire and it's just a close-up on her face. She sheds a tear and she lets go of her anger and she lets go of T'Challa so she could move on. And you could tell they put a lot of care into that moment, and that was like a real movie moment, and I just wish there was more of that in the MCU. I also really loved how they shot Namor's attack on Wakanda. There were a ton of great shots during that sequence. I really dug seeing Namor fly around and destroy all the Wakandan ships. And I thought they did a really good job with Namor's look. I actually didn't mind that they changed his origin story and that they changed him from being the King of Atlantis to the King of Talokan. I think WB actually owns Atlantis, like they own the branding of King of Atlantis or whatever it may be. So I don't think Marvel was able to use that, but I think it was pretty cool what they did with it. Also, just like the first movie, this one had some wicked sound design and a lot of dope tracks throughout the movie. And I thought they were all very appropriate to the scenes they were utilized in. There weren't just random songs thrown in just because, you know, oh hey, remember this song? And I appreciated that like the tone and the mood was on point, and the soundtrack was used to enhance that. So I like that they didn't overdo the non-diegetic music, and I really liked the use of African chants and instruments to make up the soundscape of this movie. That was actually one of my favorite aspects of the first Black Panther movie and this one as well. I also really dug all the costumes, the look of Wakanda and Talokan as well. You could tell that there was a lot of care and detail in all of these costumes on both Namor's people and the Wakandans, all the different kinds of warriors and classes of people, different tribes. And I really appreciate that detail. It really makes your mind think and it makes your imagination wander, and that's the best aspect of sci-fi and comic book movies and fantasy. For me anyway. Speaking of Namor's people, I really loved their design, even though maybe they bit Avatar 2 a little bit. I don't know, James Cameron, you gotta talk to him about that. But I liked how they looked and I liked how they fought. I loved how they incorporated the water into their weapons. The water grenades, I thought maybe some people thought they were a little corny. I thought that was actually pretty cool. The way they came out of the water holding onto a killer whale and jumped onto the bridge, I thought that was dope. Another small detail I thought was really cool was how in some fight scenes, the Talokanians, I guess, I don't know what to call them, Namor's people, would come out of the water and start like singing, and the sailors or the warriors on the boats would go into a trance and jump off of the boat, hinting at Greek mythology, Ulysses, Jason of the Argonauts, the Sirens, you know, so that was really cool. But there were also moments that didn't really work. The CGI was kind of wacky at certain times. At the beginning, which I think was a crucial moment, when you see Namor grab the helicopter, I think it was, and whip it into the ocean, it looked really bad. It kind of made me laugh because it was just like a CGI dude flying out of the water and whipping a helicopter. It was like, what the hell? Obviously, this is a superhero movie, but it didn't look good. And I wasn't really feeling the design of that Midnight Angel costume, that thing that Shuri designed to help enhance the Wakandan warriors. It just didn't look cool. It looked funny, it looked weird, I don't know, it didn't work for me. I know that they needed like a physical edge in the fight, but I think that maybe they could have used whatever Shuri synthesized, or they could have found another way, or just made a better looking suit. But for the most part, the CGI and the world design was on point. I also think all of the actors in this film did a great job with the material that they were given. Angela Bassett killed it as Queen Ramonda, though I gotta disagree with, I guess, the majority of the conversation here. I don't think that she's delivering an Oscar-worthy performance of, like, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, or whatever, but it was a great performance. I just think that there wasn't that much of a range in her character to warrant that kind of award. Tenoch Huerta, I hope I pronounced that right. He was dope as Namor. I gotta give it up to Winston Duke, the dude who plays M'Baku. He did a great job in this movie, delivered some of the best comedic beats of this movie, and also said some of the more sensible lines in this movie. And he's just a dope actor in general. I also thought it was wicked to see Michael B. Jordan back as Killmonger in this movie. I thought it was a great scene with him and Shuri on the ancestral plane, and it actually was something I was not expecting. And of course, Letitia Wright, I thought she did a great job with the material she was given, but I don't think that the story served her character correctly, and the writing did a huge disservice to her character. And now here's where I'll get into the things I didn't like about this film. So unfortunately, the first thing on my list here, the first thing that stood out to me, and unfortunately the most important thing for this movie, was the story was very weak. There wasn't a compelling reason in this movie for Namor's people to want to fight the Wakandans. And the writing didn't help the story, or the story doesn't help the writing. There's a lot of weakness in those two aspects that kind of ruined the movie for me in a lot of ways. Now, I was engaged in the first part of the movie. I was interested to see why these two factions are going to fight each other. However, the reason didn't really end up being anything. I think it was a problem that could have been solved with a conversation. But I also do feel like the writers and the director were kind of cornered into making this movie be about the death of the Black Panther because of, you know, the unfortunate passing of Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace again. And the story, the movie, the writing, it all suffers from it. A lot of the actors in this movie come off as being supporting actors, and it doesn't feel like there is a main actor in this movie. I do think that Letitia Wright could have carried this movie if it was more realistically focused on her character. This movie kind of forced her into being the Black Panther in a very artificial way. It would have been better if she learned how to use her own unique skills and her own personality in a way to help the Wakandans and become her own hero, overcome the pain and the anger she was going through. Instead, in this movie, she gave in to that and just made really bad choices, acted like a kid, and it was weird because she's a scientist and she's one of the smarter characters in the Marvel Universe. So it was odd to see her character act like that and go down the road that she did. And again, there wasn't a compelling reason in the writing for it. At one point she said she's mad at the world that T'Challa died and she could burn the whole world. But I don't know how that's a relevant thought to have as an adult losing a loved one to a sickness. If somebody killed him, I could understand that. If her motivation was revenge, I could understand that. Which it does become with Namor, but that's already more than halfway into this movie, and it didn't work for me. All these moving things going on at once, trying to tell the story with Namor while also trying to tell the story with Shuri and the Wakandans and the rest of the world. It didn't all come together well. And also, to touch on the writing, it's like this movie forgot about what happened in Black Panther 1, how T'Challa said he was going to open up Wakanda to the rest of the world. In this movie, it's like they forget about that. Wakanda's still sealed off. There's like these outreach facilities. I was more interested in, okay, Wakanda is going to become part of the world now, and what conflict does that bring to them, and how are they going to deal with that conflict? I thought this movie was going to be more about the rest of the world, maybe the American government trying to take the resources from Wakanda. Maybe they were acting like they're friends, but then they did some underhanded shit. I don't know. Instead, this movie just introduces Namor kind of out of nowhere. He literally just kind of flies out of a hole in the ground, says, hey, I don't like you guys, and are you going to help me? If not, I'm going to kill you guys. All right, bye. And obviously, they don't know who the hell this guy is or anything about him, so they're like, no, we're not going to help you. What the hell are you talking about? I'm pretty sure they tell him, like, we're going to keep your people a secret. We never heard about you people. So then Namor comes, he gets mad, he kills the queen. It doesn't serve a purpose for him in any way. For both of them, it just causes all this unnecessary death, and it doesn't make sense in my mind why this even happened. I also thought that after credits scene was very exposition heavy. It seemed like a huge afterthought, and it's just very unclear what's next for the character of Black Panther. There's no real resolution in this movie. So this is one I wouldn't really revisit and want to rewatch. There were 1-2 cool action scenes, but other than that, it doesn't really offer much. I also felt like they could have cut out all the scenes with Ross and Elaine over there. And Riri Williams, she could have been totally cut from the movie. There was no reason for her character to be there. I know she was the scientist who created the vibranium detector, whatever, but that could have literally been anyone, and the movie would have worked in the same way. So I'm not really interested to see an Ironheart show. It's not a character I was ever really interested in per se. I never read her comic books. I know, yeah, she's a character from the comics. Even so, I think that the way they portray her in the comics is a lot more interesting than what happened on screen here. But anyhow, at the end of the day, I thought there was some pretty decent dialogue. There was some great cinematography. The soundtrack was pretty dope. I really liked all the costumes and the world design, and the acting was pretty great. However, this movie severely lacks in terms of story, writing, emotion, and any reason to rewatch. So I'll give Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever 6.5 out of 10. Now I gotta talk about Marvel Phase 4 overall at this point. I haven't seen Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania yet. I haven't heard good things about it, but as always, I'll wait to see it for myself, but I'm not gonna go to the cinema and watch it. I'll wait till it comes out on digital, and y'all can tell me if you want me to do a review of that. But I've been really unimpressed with Marvel, with the MCU as of late. It's a lot of lackluster stuff. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of effort or thought being put into it. There's not a lot of good action, which is what I want to see. I want to see these characters fighting each other. I want to see great villains. I want to see superpowers being used. But whenever that happens, it's not handled well. The choreography sucks, or it just devolves into a big CGI mess. So I mean, I'm interested in seeing what they're gonna do with Kang the Conqueror and Secret Wars. All the news I've been hearing, it just makes me more worried. I've been hearing some things about no Fantastic Four being involved at all with the Kang story, which if you know about Kang at all, there's a connection there with the Fantastic Four that's like pretty prominent, and I'm disappointed that they're not gonna go that route. I thought Spider-Man No Way Home was pretty good. I thought Doctor Strange had some good moments, but a lot like this film, it's like halfway there. It just gets an above passing grade. There's some cool action, there's some cool moments, cool images, but it's lacking in story. A lot of what the characters are doing makes no sense. I think these guys need better writers. I think their universe building is on point. It's definitely commendable that they've been doing this for so long, but since No Way Home, there hasn't been anything I've really been invested in seeing. Not like I was with Thanos. And I think that that was a phenomenon of, are they really gonna do this? After the Avengers movie, I don't think any of us expected them to really go ahead with Thanos. They could have ended it at Avengers, ended it with that after credits scene, and just wrapped up the Marvel Universe there, and I think most of us would have been happy. The fact that we actually got Thanos in a movie and he snapped half the universe away was a huge treat for a lot of Marvel fans. But I feel like at this point, they're doing it for the money, they see the return on investment. I think most people don't really know about these characters to the extent that the real hardcore fans do. And obviously Disney feels that they can market to these guys and still make back their money. So hopefully, you know, if we speak with our wallets and we don't go to these films and juice up the numbers, it'll give Disney a signal to say, hey, you know, let's invest in the story here some more, and let's give people a reason to come out to the movie theater. So anyways, that's my thoughts on the MCU and Marvel and obviously Black Panther. As always, let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. Please hit like, hit subscribe. It really helps out my channel and the content. And as always, I'll see y'all next time. Peace.